wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, roll like thunder, gonna shake the ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, my name is Wyatt Milam, and I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home in Canova, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We had that golden boot pride at Parmar. There are literally hundreds of Parmar stores in West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and even more on the way. Download the Parmar app to save even more. And whether it's food, gas, groceries, or whatever, we have you covered at Parmar. West Virginia proud and ready to serve you.
And if there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Oh, yeah, and welcome to the WolfMan's Call today, Thursday, June 15th. You see it there, Penn State, Happy Valley, 79 days for the Mountaineers to kick off at Happy Valley at night. I've been there, I understand it. Yeah, it's time for the dogs to start barking, right? What's our thing? When you get enough dogs in the locker room, even the cats will meow. That's right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. And I got a great show for you today. We're going to start off with Keenan Cummings, West Virginia.rivals.com. I'll tell you, this is the hardest working man I know. But before we get into Keenan here, let's go ahead and do a little maintenance and get this up here. And go ahead. And I want to do this, and that is subscribe for you on YouTube, West Virginia football, at the voice of college football. Why? Because WolfMan's Call rocks football. And if you're watching us on Facebook, on all what we just shared, I mean the thousands and thousands of people on Facebook, hey, go ahead and share it. Keeps it spreading, and go ahead and retweet. If you're watching at Wolfley64 on Twitter, just retweet it, man. I don't care if it's live or not. Just keep doing and spreading the show because we're bringing you great quality stuff. And now, without further ado, I will bring in the hardest working guru of West Virginia football recruiting and coverage. My guy, my friend, and that is Keenan Cummings. Keenan, how you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for that intro. Probably more than I deserve.
Well, I don't know about that. I've always thought it. I think, through all the years that we were there and covering together, and I was just hanging around so I could do the thing on the weekends. But, man, you were always there, man. Always there, always covering. And you called every single possible recruit. And you knew about every single recruit. It's just I don't know how you do it, man. And we were talking earlier, and now you got the transfer portal. What's it like?
Hectic. The transfer portal has definitely made recruiting a little bit more interesting. I mean, not only for each class, but now instead of you set out every year, you say, hey, you get X amount by June. You get X amount by December or February, even back in the older days when I first started. And then you kind of kick the can down the road, move on to the next class. Now it just kind of goes all year round. I mean, there's still 2 spots for West Virginia that they could add to this current year's team. And so I'm still balancing what they could potentially add with what they're adding now for 2024, guys that enroll early. And then, it's kind of just a never ending carousel at this point.
Yeah, that's for sure, kid. And I think, man, is when you look at this and the way you cover it, you have to actually cover it like you're a coach because that's what you're doing. You're into it like the coaches are. So when you're watching, how are they breaking it up and doing this with the signing date being in the beginning of December, transfer portals open, I mean, it's chaos and I think what you're saying is talking about kind of a little bit of a burnout.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you got to look at it across college football. A lot of people in, coaching and my industry, you kind of fight that now because it really is year round. I mean, if you're doing it by yourself, you're covering multiple sports, it's a balance. I mean, you really got to learn that. I think when you look at structure, I think the coaches have to really kind of put things together. You have big official visit weekends in June now. Back when I first started, official visits weren't a thing till fall of your senior year, and now they are a thing in June. Some places they are in April. The way West Virginia's done it is they've really structured their official visits the first weekend, second weekend, and sometimes third or fourth. I mean, they haven't had anything on Father's Day yet, but sometimes fourth weekend in June before the dead period. That way they get kids to campus. Weather's great. They have excellent presentation. They show everything about the program, really get them close because, you have that kind of infighting at times. Is it better when there's football going on or is it better when there's not? Kids can come on unofficial visits for football games and have a lot of success. They want to get them to campus multiple times before you get to that official visit. The official visit is more dedicated to getting to know the player, getting to know their family, really connecting and kind of closing the deal in a sense. I mean, you're seeing that right now with how recruiting's picked up for West Virginia this month. Every single one of these guys that have committed, I think they have 6 public and a few that, if you follow the coaches' tweets, a few that have not gone public yet. But I think most of them, if not all of them, have been frequent visitors to campus.
Okay. So you're seeing all this go down. Let me ask you this. What do you call these kids up? Because we always did the show, right? You remember I do a show once a year. I would always start studying like the week before because I never trusted these youngins that they were going to actually come to West Virginia. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and get involved in this and start studying. But that's what you do. But how frustrating could that be for you? And all of a sudden a kid drops it and he goes somewhere else.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving and shaking in what I do. You get to know kids. Some kids, and it's crazy how the recruiting portal changed too. You'll have guys that 2 years ago you thought absolutely this guy's going to be in West Virginia's class or this guy's going to be a top target. 2 years later, maybe they've gotten too big, quote unquote, or maybe they never developed, the way you thought they would. So there's a lot of moving things around. You really kind of you can't know everything. You try to know as much as possible. You try to learn as much as possible. But, I do this for a living, and there's times I'm surprised, by what unfolds. So you don't ever know anything. And anyone that sits and tells you they do is not telling the truth because the coaching staff would admit to you that they don't even know everything sometimes, the way things unfold, especially with the dynamics now with NIL and the transfer portal and just everything that is converging at once. It's made things a little interesting. You try to fill up roughly, let's just say for West Virginia's sake, you want to try to get to 20 high school commitments. Now that's nothing official, but just that's a number to shoot for. You'd like to have like 15 or so, 16 by the time you're entering the season. And that way you can kind of work on a few guys that are out there and focus on some other guys that emerge. But then you start turning your attention to the transfer portal and what you need there because December's a free-for-all now. December and January, that's not like what it used to be. I mean, you're doing recruiting to close up the shop in the current class. You're recruiting your own players for your team to stay, and you're trying to find other guys to help.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I think about it. I'm glad I'm out of the coaching world, man. I don't want no part of it. And honestly, if I was Mike Joseph on that strength staff and somebody was there for a year or 2 years or 3 and they left, I'd just get pissed. I really would. So with that being said, I wanted to ask you this question. Let's move on to what you see here. And how do you see this – the Neil Brown and his coaching staff? How do you see that they're going after recruits? I saw a recruit that committed last week, and he said he loved the culture that they're talking about. What is the culture that they're promoting to the young guys? Because obviously they just all of a sudden 6 or 7, like you said, just jumped out.
I think something that this coaching staff does really well, and they've done it since they first got here, is building those bonds with kids and their families. And it sounds cliche in a sense, but recruiting is about relationships. I mean, that's most of it. You build these relationships with kids, you get to know the kids, you get to know their families, and by the time you get to the official visit, it's almost like kind of putting a bow on it. You get the kind of the bells and whistles, and an official visit is obviously, I don't care if you've been someplace 10 times, the official visit is going to be a different experience just because of kind of how big it is, how blown up it is, all the stuff you get to do. It is to highlight the program, but it's the important things that happen before that: culture, family, how connected they are with the team. Something I hear from almost every kid I talk to is, it felt like a big family. And yes, again, that's one of those things that you hear a lot, but the sincerity is what stands out to me. When I talk to these kids, they really believe in Neil and what he's building. They believe that, they can help. They might be that missing piece that the program needs. And it's important that they establish those bonds. I keep going back to this, but when a kid is so familiar with your program, so familiar with the coaches that, the coaches know your little sister's name or your dad's name and include them in everything. It's more of a family decision than it is just, hey, I want to go here. Can I have your blessing? And I think that really helps West Virginia, especially with, some of these local kids that are able to make it to campus, half a dozen times.
Yeah, okay. Good stuff. Well, all right, so let's go ahead then and jump at this right here. Let me go ahead and put us here this way, and I can put this up here for you. Go ahead. Let's start talking about it. I'm looking at the 4 stars, the 3 stars, and what is before we get into that? What is this? Now there's a grade. It's almost like there's a 3-star, 4-star, but they got grades, numbers, with decimal points there. Obviously, up to 100. I'm thinking is how has that been working out, and when did that come into be?
Well, the way Rivals does it, they do kind of a tier system.
Mm-hmm.
Like your best of the best, they're 5 stars. I think they're 6.1s, and then you go down the list. A 4-star is a 5.8. And a 3-star, not all 3 stars are created equal. Yes, they are in terms of having 3 stars besides their names, but there's a 5.7 3-star, a 5.6 3-star, and a 5.5.
Okay.
The difference comes in how much points those commitments are worth towards your point total in the Rivals.com formula. So, for example, looking at that list, I think Kyle Altuner's a 5.6 3-star, so that's 75 points. But
okay.
A guy like, I think Keyshawn Robinson is a 5.5. That's 60 points towards your total. And obviously, the more points you get, the higher you're rated. I always try to tell people, especially early, because we as a culture, as a college football fandom, tend to overreact on things, especially early. And West Virginia's really had this model since Neil Brown's been here. You might get a few kids before June, but things really always pick up in June once official visits hit. So if you're looking at judging something, because if you only have, 8 or 9 commitments, you're not going to be a top 25 class. Look at the average star ranking, because that tells you the quality of your class. So if you look at, Keelan Flo's not rated yet. He will be. I think he's going to be a 5.5 3-star. So if you look at like up and down, West Virginia has over a 3 in their quality of their class. The highest one in program history, at least in terms of Rivals, I think is like 3.18 or 3.24, something like that. So this is a solid class to start. Now, obviously, there's a lot of work left to do. There's a lot of guys still out there, but West Virginia's getting off on the right foot.
All right, so let's throw it over here, Keenan. Tell me about this guy. He's 4-star. I watched him, and I'll get into it later with my people, but you break him down. I want to hear from you, man, because you're the guy who watches this 24/7. What do you see here from Brendan Raymond as a wide receiver?
Well, I really like his route running ability. He's a crisp route runner for a high school kid, which isn't as common as you think. A lot of these guys just kind of outrate run people. He's pretty good at getting open. He's faster than I actually thought he was. I had not seen him in person. Faster than I thought he was on tape. I really like his ability to win a contested catch situation. He plays bigger than his size. He's not small. I think he's 6'1", something around in there. So
yeah, he is. Yep. At least that's what they had him as.
Yeah, you watch his tape. I mean, he's pulling away from guys. I don't really comparisons are never fair. I don't like to compare him to kids, but I think that you watch his tape. There's a reason he's a 4-star. There's a reason that he's a guy that West Virginia prioritized. I think that he's a guy that can come in and help early. As long as he can adjust. You never like to place that too high expectations on guys, because the one thing that I will say from covering recruiting, and I wish people that followed recruiting kind of took to heart a little bit, is not all guys develop at the same time. There are guys that need to redshirt, guys that need 2 years. Just because a guy doesn't play in his first 2 years doesn't mean he's not ever going to play or ever make an impact. Now, with the transfer portal, of course, he could leave, but in general, there are plenty of great West Virginia players that did not start their career day one, putting up 100 yards receiving. So keep that in mind. But I do think he's a guy that definitely could step in and at least help in a rotational role.
All right. Excellent breakdown. Let's continue on here. This is Obena. You go ahead and say his last name.
Wuku.
Wuku? Is it Wuku or Ka? I don't know. But what do you think of here? Now, this is a guy, he's 6'4", 225. Anytime you're 6'4", you're long armed like he is. Look at this cat, man.
Yep.
I mean, he's special. So, I get excited. I think he's a little high at times here. But the first time you get hit by a 300-pound offensive lineman that's 4 years older than you got to go ahead and get lower. It's a natural defensive system that you learn.
Yeah, he like you said. I usually, when I talk about defensive linemen in high school, most of them are figuring it out. They're playing high. But the thing I like about him the most is you look at what he can do already. He's great off the edge, uses his hands well, has a pretty good first step. But what I really like about him is his frame and his potential. Once he figures things out, once he fills out, he has a chance to be a really, really good football player. Kind of reminds me, not as big, but when you watch Sean Martin's tape, he was kind of the same way. He was a good high school player, but you just felt once he got in a college program and really filled out and really learned, some of the things he needed to learn, he could be special. And I think last year you saw some glimpses of that. So I am really high on his future. I know he's a higher rated prospect right now, but I think Obena has a chance to really, really, really be a special player.
Yeah, I do too, and I really love that he seems to be more advanced with his hand trapping when he comes into contact and engages with an offensive lineman, and that's a great thing if you're doing that in high school. There's no doubt. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to the list here before I'm going to let you go, brother. And I want to know who you like here on the list, and we go ahead. These are the commits. And you tell me here who sticks out. Obviously, I think Raymond does. I think Obena does. Who else do you like here? Or are you saying you like them all?
There's not any that I would say no. I think absolutely all of them deserve a spot in the class. But the guy that I personally, I think he's going to be absolutely great is Kyle Altuner. I think he could play now. I think that he's a guy that is athletic enough. He plays interior lineman, but he's athletic enough. He could play tackle. In college, you watch him. I don't like comparisons, but you see kind of a Zach Frazier type of guy. He's a guy that I think could step in, play center, and play there several years. I think that he can be a really good player. And talking to some people over, at Good Counsel, he's from a powerhouse program over in Maryland that know him, have seen him over the years. They're absolutely high on him. They think that he could be special. He had the offer list to prove it. He's a guy that I think. Yeah, a lot of these guys, you want to see him develop. You obviously want to see offensive linemen develop, but I think he has the strength and the ability to possibly play very early in his career, which when you say that about offensive linemen,
it's tough.
10 years ago, that was unthinkable, but now you're seeing it more and more. I mean, look at Zach Frazier, for example.
Yep, and Wyatt came on strong. Playing that tackle spot, it's not easy, my friends. Not easy. Okay, so basically, I got a guy coming on here, former Mountaineer Chuck LeVinus. He played quarterback, and he's backstage right now, so he can hear me. I'm going to say only quarterback I know that ever wore a neck roll. Okay, neck roll back in the day, and man, I think Steve Grogan did too when he was injured for the Patriots. But that's it, man. Chuck LeVinus, Steve Grogan, that's it. Nobody else. But he's got a kid. We're going to talk about his kid Charlie, and he's got real potential. I mean, obviously his dad was a legit Division I quarterback, and genes don't lie. What would you tell him? Because he's bringing his kid around, and he's showing him out there. They're going to be at West Virginia camps, Marshall. I think he's coming up on the East Coast, and he's on the West Coast, and he's out at their San Diego State. So he's got him being seen, but he's young. But what do you do to keep this going, man? Because I know he's going to ask that. I mean, so he's listening right now.
The number one thing, and I get this question a lot from parents, and just over my experience, I've been following this stuff for 20 years. I've been doing this for almost 15. Get your kid to as many camps in front of coaches as possible. Don't get caught up in rankings. Don't worry about, and I this is coming from a guy that works for Rivals. Don't get caught up on rankings. Don't get caught up on that stuff. Get your kid out as many coaches as possible. Get their film out. If your coaches will help you, that's great. If not, take it on yourself. Get these guys out. Be able to kind of form some relationships and perform in camps, because camps are very important. It allows coaches to kind of work you through drills that they work their own players through to get an idea of how you fit in with them. And, at these camps, you might go to a West Virginia camp, but there's some other schools there. Or you might go to a Marshall camp, there's probably some other schools there. And I try to tell people too, don't focus so much on everybody wants to play at the highest level, but maybe that's not the path for some kids. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and getting any scholarship to play college football is a major accomplishment.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Hey, kid, I want you to come on back again. We'll get some more guys in there. Let's talk about it, because they're, again, hardest working guy I know. Double time in now, maybe even a little bit of triple time in it with all this transfer portal, all these guys going back and forth. But you keep it going, man. You keep your nose in it. So kudos to you. Thanks for coming on the WolfMan's Call.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Wolf. Anytime, man. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Take care now. All right. Well, that's Keenan Cummings, West Virginia Rivals.com. I'm not kidding when I tell you this. The guy is, I've known him for, I don't know, must be a decade now that I've been around him or more, and he's always on top of it. I used to text him all the time and say, hey, what's this? What's that? What's this? And he would always come up and tell me, even though he's probably like, hey, Wolf, do your own work. You know what I mean? But anyways, Keenan Cummings, West Virginia Rivals.com. Vern, what a good dude. The coverage there is absolutely fantastic. I will say it every single time. They know what they're talking about, and they got the good relationships with the coaches, so they're getting inside information. Okay, so listen, what I want to do now is I got to go ahead. I got to do this every day. We're doing it. It is this. It's the Game Changer, baby. Now, Game Changer, one pill can kill. One pill. I'm telling you, this is so important. You see, Meg Bolger's involved in this. I told her I'd keep going. Joe Bozick, one pill can kill. Check out the video there. Go to GameChangerUSA.org. Get involved, my friends. I'm telling you, this epidemic, this opioid, this substance abuse that's going on for our teens getting involved and getting hooked, and we got to stop it. And GameChangerUSA.org is doing that. We had the governor, the two senators, and we had some other politicians that were there that care. They're trying. We had sports people, we had business people, just all coming together. They did it at the Greenbrier, and there's going to be a lot more events coming up. But GameChangerUSA.org, get involved. Let's kick this crap out of for our kids. I'm serious, man. Gets my blood boiling, gets me all fired up. For you that know me, you know how I feel about this. And speaking of that, let's go ahead. I have my buddy. He's been sitting there and he's been waiting. Now, I told you, he wore a neck roll at times. I'll let him tell you why. But Chuck LeVinus, we call him Chuckles. And he's from Phoenix, Arizona. And what a wonderful guy. He went back there, got married and had family, and now he's got this boy, his son Charlie, and he's raising him up. And let's go. Let's talk to Chuck. Let's see if he's even got the capabilities. Are you there, Chuck?
I am Wolfman. How are you?
Oh, my brother, how you doing, man?
I'm great. The power of technology, 2,000 miles away, and we're talking live.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome. Hey, it's wonderful to have you on the show, the Wolfman's Call. All right, but let's before we get into it, man, tell me about it. Why did you wear a neck roll when you're the quarterback for WVU?
Well, I will tell you, I wore a neck roll, but it was only once.
Is that it? I have this image in my head.
It was at the Sun Bowl in El Paso. At the time, I think, the fourth string quarterback behind Major, Ben, Mike Timko.
Okay.
And I also had a face mask that had a line down the middle because I knew that game I'd only be playing special teams. But after that, I was like, no more neck roll, no more line in the middle. But I did have 2 sets of shoulder pads.
Wow, that's at a time when shoulder pads were really large.
I had to fight Mike Karen to get that extra set, by the way.
And in fact, Danny was right behind him as the second defense, the second wall. All right, very good. Well, listen, man. So, all right, Charlie, what grade is he in now?
He's a rising junior. He'll be a junior next year.
Okay, he looks like he got tall, and I'm going to go ahead and put up some pictures here soon. But first, tell me about him. What school is he going to down there in Phoenix? And what's he doing here, and what are you doing?
Okay, so he goes to Paradise Valley High School.
Okay.
Which is in, let's say, northeast Phoenix.
Right, I'm familiar.
Yeah, he's looking to be the starting quarterback next year. He is working his tail off. I don't want to say this, Dale. I don't want to let your audience know, but the kids now seem to be working a lot harder than when we were playing. These guys go all year round. He's working out now. He does a 3-hour workout. He throws 5 days a week, maybe 2 hours a day. He's doing 2-a-days in the summer, June. These kids are really, really putting a lot of work into this thing. We just got back from an unofficial trip at San Diego State University about 2 weeks ago. San Diego State, I don't know if you get a lot of news on them, but they're going to the Pac-12.
They're going to Pac-12? I heard they might be actually, going back and forth trying to negotiate with the Big 12. Not going on.
I think that might be a negotiating ploy, but from my understanding, they're going to go to the Pac, and it's probably a better fit for them. They're on the West Coast. They had 100,000 applicants to the school last year, just put in a new stadium. So we went to San Diego State 2 weeks ago. We're going to WVU and a Marshall camp. Marshall next Sunday on Father's Day. And then on Monday, we're going to be at the WVU camp, going on an unofficial trip to UNLV the weekend we get back. UConn has asked him to come out for an unofficial trip. Yale wants him to come out, Yale and Dartmouth. Missouri's following him. Illinois is following him. We're just really starting the process, and it's a lot different than when we were going through it. I will say that.
Yeah. With all these Ivy League schools, it's funny because Ron Crook was an offensive line coach during the Dana Holgerson period. Now he's the offensive line coach at Virginia Tech. But at one time, he was the coach at Harvard, and he's from Parkersburg. And he told me, the first thing he told me was he's telling me about himself when I first met him, Crookie. Love the guy. He said, you know what? He said, you don't know what humbleness is until you go into your meeting room, and every guy in that meeting room is smarter than you. Because he coached at Harvard. Is that like Charlie? Because I know who you are.
Hopefully he's not watching this. Maybe you can cut it out, but he's smarter than me. I think he's taller than I am now, and his feet are a lot better. And I was fast enough to be on kickoff, if you remember that, Dale.
Yes, I do. That's thus the second pair of shoulder pads.
That's it.
Okay, so what is your traverse been like going to all these different places? What are you picking up? what are you seeing, man? Because now you're turning into kind of, I'm not going to call you an expert, but you're getting familiarized. And, when people tell you something, you understand what's real and what's not.
Right. Well, we started going to these camps before his freshman year in high school. Now, he's put on probably 40 pounds and 3 inches since then.
Oh.
Initially, they could see, like, hey, he's got great feet, good arm, but he's, still a young kid. He actually started in 5th grade going to a guy named Mike Giovando, who was this quarterback guru out here, who your guy Nico went to him for the same amount of time. So he's getting a lot of interest, a lot of people saying, hey, we like your feet, we like your arm strength. You just need to get bigger, faster, and stronger. Only going to be a junior. And we want to see varsity tape on him. Yeah. So he'll be starting this year. He's going to get that, and it's up to him to earn his keep, really.
Well, that's for sure, and Chuckles, I'm thinking of what Keenan just said. Get him out to every camp that he can. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's something we're trying to balance, because we want to get him out to camps, but he also has a lot. So at Paradise Valley now, he's at practice at 7 a.m. lifting. They go from about 7 to 9. Then they get a break, and then they're out there at 5 to 7 throwing. And then the coach also spends some time with them afterwards. So he's got that from Monday to Thursday. He also has his private quarterback coaches he goes to. So we decided, hey, we want to go out and see Marshall and WVU. And then we're probably going to go to another camp on the East Coast and maybe 1 or 2 on the West Coast. We're not quite sure which ones. We're just trying to fit all this in and balance it and have him be able to train for the season, which it's really all about, and then also get his exposure out there. It's kind of like 2 pathways at the same time, and sometimes it's a challenge to manage.
Yeah, it looks like you got a whiteboard right behind you. I mean, it's not like there's a kid. You got him like in school, 24/7 in football. Hey, Johnny, this is what you do, okay? You go out here, you see the dig, I mean, this is your progression. I mean, is it Sergeant LeVinus here or what?
I try to just be a supportive parent. Sometimes it's difficult. You know how this is. You had 3 of them. But, it's probably at this age, I coached him a lot when he was younger, but at this age, it's probably better for his head coach, who really knows his stuff. His name's Greg Davis, to be the guy delivering the message. And I'm just here to be supportive and, say, hey, what do you need to eat? And I'll cook it.
All right. Well, I like that attitude. Let's go. Let's take a look at it real quick here. I broke this film down. It's just one play, Chuckles. But, let's take a look at him. He's a quarterback, obviously. But he's got a nice release, and obviously he hits the guy in stride the quarter, so there's a touch there. But here we go. Let's break this up. Look at his release. He's got the footwork is there, but that's quick, man.
He's always had a very quick release.
He does, right? Am I right or am I wrong?
He has a very quick release. He can get it off fast. He's been going to Mike Giovando, who's one of the premier quarterback coaches, private coaches. In the nation. This guy, Mike, I actually was a high school quarterback in Phoenix the same time he was, same year. Really? And about 15 years ago, he started doing these private lessons. No one was doing this. And I believe he's got 50 Division I guys that he has coached. Spencer Rattler, Nico, Brian Lewerke, who was at Michigan State. And he's at the Patriots now, I believe. One of the plumber guys who was at Cal last year. He's now at Louisville. And he really knows his stuff, and that's why Charlie's feet are so good.
Well, you know what? I think that's special. I had Nico on yesterday. He came on this show. So you were just following up after him, which because you got in touch with me, I'm like, this is perfect. And we're doing recruiting today and with Charlie. Hey, I tell you, Charlie should contact Nico, man. Nico's a great kid. And I don't know if he already knows him or not, but I think Nico would give him a lot of good info and insight about that whole process, man. So, I'm keeping my hands free of it, but I'm just saying is, they're all out there in Arizona. I mean, he's out there in Arizona when he's not at WVU.
I'll have him reach out to him. I think he actually sees him when he throws with Gio.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, good deal, man. So, all right. So now you're coming out. Do you have any expectations or wants? Maybe not expectations, but do you have any wants as you come out here and you're showing up to them, or are you just like enjoying the whole time with your son and anyone else that is going with, or just you two, and experiencing all these different WVU, Marshall, and so on?
well, he went out there when he was 12 years old, and I think you met him then. And we hung out with John Stroya and Matt Ratcher and Kevin Koken. Actually have some photos of Charlie taking some snaps from Koken, which was a lot of fun. Then we went out there after his freshman year on an unofficial visit. Thank you very much for assisting in that thing. And he just had a blast. And that was when Major's number was retired. So
I remember.
Yeah. So the way we're looking at it is, I see a lot of people get hung up on this recruiting thing and NIL, which is all very important stuff. I'm just trying to teach them to enjoy the journey. So we're going out there. We're going to visit Bill Legg at Marshall. He's going to do his thing. Then we're going to drive up to Morgantown after that. And I told him he's put in the work. He has all the talent and skill that he's going to have at this point in time. Just go out, do your thing, have fun, and enjoy the moment. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you and David Alloway and some of these other guys I haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, it's always nice to return home. And, all the guys, all the times I worked at the alumni, the varsity club, it was nice to see. I mean, I had it special because I got to see so many more people, held the reunions for the 60s teams, the 70s, and the experiences I had. So they're pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Chuckles. I think with what I see with Charlie, really see him advance, man. And I'm not telling you this because, I'm straightforward to you because we're brothers. And I wouldn't sit there and blow smoke up. He's really advanced and he looks sharp. And I love the fact that he's really intelligent, man. Because, if you ask me to go bash someone on the offensive line, I'm okay to do it. I don't know if I could sit there and bash anyone, but by going to my check downs. I don't know if I'm physically equipped to check down bashing somebody. So I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, man. And you know what? I always told everybody at Phoenix College, Chuckles, everybody at Phoenix College, whoever wants you, that's where you want to go. You don't ever want to try to go someplace that they really don't want you because they're not going to give you that shot. They're not going to really take care of you that way. It's unusual. Sometimes you can change it, and Owen Schmidt can change it, but somewhere, if they want you, it doesn't matter if you're a walk-on or not, but if they want you to come, that's where you're going to get the shot. And that's what I try to tell most of the people that ever come to me for advice, if they ever do, is go where they want you to play because that's where you're going to have the best opportunity to play.
You can't put a square peg in a round hole. And I've told Charlie for the longest time, hey, go out and enjoy the game. Enjoy your teammates, enjoy the competition. And if you put in the work, you will be a success. And like you said, he just wants to go somewhere where they value him and he enjoys the program and the coaches and the other players, and they throw the ball 50 times a game. So that last part was a joke. Well, 30's fine.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, hey, Chuck, thanks a lot. Listen, man, we get out there. Is Charlie is he already in touch with the coaches for WVU and obviously Billy Legg? Are you guys all good?
All good. Been in touch with the coaches. They treated us great. And we're going to hook up with them when we get there, and would love to see you too.
Oh, well, you're going to see me, brother. You're going to see me. You're going to see me, dog. Unfortunately, you can know. But last thing is, I've asked every Mountaineer brother this, that have went through it, what we went through and played. And do you believe that the WVU Mountaineers can be successful in football if they're not blue collar. Obviously, you got to have everything else, the talent, you got to have the skill. But overall, that blue collar, that hard edge, can they be successful without that being WVU?
Well, I'm going to answer you with a little story. Hopefully, we have a little bit of time. So, my last year there, in 1988, we went 11-0, and we played. It didn't work out in the Fiesta Bowl like we wanted to, but we were just as good as they were. And this is what I think is really interesting about the recruiting now. We didn't have a whole lot of 5 stars on that team. And we had a lot of guys who were probably not getting the offers from the super top tier teams, but we put it together. We had a great team camaraderie. And I think this is the thing with the guys on our team. We had a lot of grit. And we were tough. And that senior year, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do, we were down by 14 points at Maryland at home.
Yep.
And I looked over on the sidelines, and I was on the sidelines. I was playing special teams. Not one of us was worried about it. We knew we were going to come back because we knew we'd put in the work, and we were just a tough group of kids and a lot of us had a chip on our shoulder because I wasn't recruited by everyone. I don't know about you, but there was a lot of guys on that team who were not recruited by the Penn States and the Pitts and the Michigans and the Southern Cals. But once you got us together and we worked in that weight room with Al Johnson and Mickey and Jim Hopkins, no one was going to beat us that year.
Wow. That's such a great story. By the way, yeah, I was recruited by everybody. Hey, and remember this.
We have one 5-star.
And remember this, just so you know. Jim Hopkins, when he used to drive around the front of his license plate, it said Jesus. All right. Well, listen, hey Chuck LeVinus, Mountaineer, they're tough guy, quarterback, all the great things, man. Listen, with Charlie, best of wishes. Come back and tell us, man. We want to know about this recruiting because everything's changed. It has changed so much. You've asked me all the last couple of years, and to be quite honest with you, I'm just an old bird now. I mean, you know a lot more about the recruiting now situation than I do because it's all changing. So come on back, brother, okay?
Yeah, I will do that. One last thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, I know what that is. That is 8mm film, baby.
So in the days of our recruiting, each high school team typically would have one of these. And then we'd send them out to the high schools. And we'd send them out to the colleges. And if the college liked you, they would keep it because they wouldn't want you to send it to anyone else.
That's right. And that would be Donnie Young back in the day.
So you'd be like, hey, can I get my film back? Can I get my film back? So my point to that is the whole thing has changed. I am learning as I go. Thanks for having Keenan on there. He was fantastic. But it's I will be back, and I would love to talk to you again, and I'll tell you everything I know.
All right. Last thing I'll tell you, you brought up Keenan. Go ahead. You can go ahead and reach out to him, man. He's all over the place. He talks to everybody. Make sure Charlie talks to him.
I will do that. As long as you're vouching for me, I will reach out to him.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, you take care, man, and let's go, the LeVinus family. See you, brother.
See you, Wolfman. Take care. Right. Yep. Go Mountaineers.
All right. Chuck LeVinus, we call him Chuckles. I'll tell you, we call him Chuckles because he's probably one of the funniest guys that I've seen. Going through what I could tell you that Pat McAfee, watching him and his a couple of years that I was there on the staff, funny. Well, guess what? So is Chuck LeVinus. And to see him here, he's a fireman. I think now he's working in politics, but he's done a lot, and he's a really incredible dude. Hey, you know what? That's just another Mountaineer going out in the world, man, and doing good stuff. And we're really proud of him. And I'll tell you, his boy Charlie's got an arm. Did you see that release? I mean, that's good stuff. And if he's smart, man, the game's already, if you already got that game in your brain, wow, I'll tell you what, that's something else. So let's go ahead and do some. I'm going to go ahead and I'm thinking we're going to get a guy named Reno who's going to come on board here. But for the next thing I'm going to do is I am actually going to go ahead and put this out. And I'm copying it down here and I'm putting out. Does anybody want to come on board? You can talk about football. Talk about what Keenan had to say. Talk about what Chuck had to say. Whatever you want to do, you can go ahead. Here's the link. Come on board, man. You be respectful. I'll put you on right now. It's easy. You just seen Keenan do it. And I'm going to go to one more subject here. Well, you guys may be thinking about coming on, or Gales, whoever it may be. But let's put this out.
The only.
This is Coach Nick Saban. I don't know if any of you guys know this, but Coach Nick Saban, I used to, when I worked at WVU at the Coliseum, because all the football coaches were at the Coliseum, I had his office after he left it. So I feel like I'm inspired by a living Coach Nick Saban, is that I was in his office for, I think, 12 years that he had. And so everything I see him and everything I do here, is actually Reno. I see, look at this. I got this guy named Reno. Now, before I do this with Nick Saban, so I got this guy Reno. I sent him the link. Hey, I sent him the link, and now he's trying to FaceTime me. Okay? I mean, Chuck, I don't know if you know this. You got to just click on the link. It's really easy. Kid, everybody. I send a link, and all you got to do is click on the link and not FaceTime. This is Reno. This is the same guy who I took to the Greenbrier for the Game Changer that I hired and fired 3 different times in 2 days. And then I took him down to the Parmar stores, the Expo, hired and fired him. Click on the link, Reno. If you're watching, click on the link. Unbelievable. And here we go. So let's go ahead. Let's get back to Coach Nick Saban. And this kind of goes into what I've been talking about for, I guess, since I started this show here the last month and a half.
The way to develop, the kind of mental toughness and discipline is you have to be able to overcome hard.
But you got to push yourself, man. You can't give in to it. You got to keep pushing yourself even when you get tired, even when you feel like you can't go. All right, that's when you take the next step.
The only way to develop,
one more time.
The kind of mental toughness and discipline is you have to be able to overcome hard.
But you got to push yourself, man. You can't give in to it. You got to keep pushing yourself even when you get tired, even when you feel like you can't go. All right, that's when you take the next step.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You say overcome hard. Well, what is hard? Hard is pretty much any situation that is difficult, right? And that's what I'm saying, is when you go hard, getting over that, you have to experience it to understand it. So, and I gave the example of, we're going to go hat on hat, or that Coach Nealon and Coach Dunlap, the defensive coordinator, would put 13 guys on 13 might be too much, 12 guys on defense, and we would go and say, hey, we're running right behind myself or Bobby Kovac or John Stroyer or Kevin Koke, whoever it was that he chose. He said, defense, we're running right here, and the defense outnumbered the offense. You had to go through hard because you had to overcome difficulties. And that's what we did. And that's what we're talking about, building a culture. And when you're building a culture, and you're building an identity. So for your identity to be one thing over here, that's what your culture has to be in preparation. You want to be hard, you have to practice it. You want to be tough, you have to do it. If you want to be a bad dude, you have to go ahead and do it. And that is exactly what I say. And listen, Reno, the man, you never trust a man named Reno who's from California, right? What person in California is going to say, hey, Reno, Nevada is right across the border. Let's name our kid Reno. It doesn't work. So that's all right, Reno. We'll continue on without you. And I'm going to finish up here with this. Over heart. When we talked yesterday with Keith Hawkins, and we're talking to Keith about what is it about this? What is it about bringing enough dogs into the locker room so that even the cats meow? We're talking about Penn State and understanding that when you go there, that you have to be aware of the circumstances around you, that you have to develop that hard edge because it's not going to get easy with a top 5 Penn State team. And I don't care about the offensive line is great. Well, guess what? They got a great defense too, so that's going to be a battle. But we got young guys on defense. They're going to have to step up and really, really come together and battle an offense that is very, very much strong. 2 running backs that rushed for 1,000 yards. One came up short. It's a little bit short. An offensive line that is finally the offensive line that they want at Penn State, what they've been asking for. The offensive line that they feel can compete with the Michigans, with the Ohio States. That's the offensive line that they have. So again, and the special teams, which it means what kind of depth do you have? So the challenges for the Mountaineers, and I keep going against Penn State because guess what? Penn State's the first game, and the Mountaineers, the sense of urgency, the sense of I'm building a culture, but you got to identify what it is. You got to identify who you are and where you are at, and you got to be real. And you got to understand, this is where I'm at. I'm not saying this team can't do it. I'm telling you, I think the team can do it because they can do anything if they work together. But what I'm saying is you better understand the reality of your situation and go from there. And I'm not saying they're not, but that's why I keep harping on it. I know what's waiting. I know that a sense of urgency for every repetition. But you know what was great? Did you listen to Nico yesterday? If you didn't see Nico Marchio in the interview yesterday, you missed a really good one. And not because it's me, because it was Nico. And the fact that this is a 19-year-old young man who's just starting out with 4 years to go. And he's spreading the good news of exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm an old man. So his wisdom is right there. And that means that the coaches are telling these guys that. So again, they got to get it going, though, every sense of urgency, every sense of strain. That's what you have to do, man. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. They may win, they may not win, but they better fight hard because you're going to learn some lessons. Every game you learn lessons. What do you do with those lessons? Do you learn what real toughness is? I mean, I can remember the first time I got up there, we called it Greeny Day. You know, you heard Chuck there talk about, about our guys together. I remember being an offensive lineman, and I lettered my first year, and I played a whole bunch of snaps as an offensive lineman. And boy, I was really light in the can for an offensive lineman. And it was tough, and it was physical, and it took a mental preparation. You heard Nick say, you got to have mentally, you got to be tough. If you're going to go to Penn State, there's going to be crowd. You can't hear the person next to you. You can't talk when they're out there, especially when you're on offense, because obviously the people at Penn State are trying to interfere with your communication. But you can't hear. So what do you have to do? You have to rise above the situation. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. You have to be mentally tough, because I'll tell you, it is not easy. And to go in there without any sense of urgency is not acceptable. So I'm just sounding the alarm. That's what I'm doing. I have come to this conclusion. I have told everybody that will listen, anybody that will listen, please, let's all get together and rally, because if we're going to rally this, I feel like I got a part in this. I want them to understand that this is, you got to reach beyond. If you want to win this game, or if you want to be the team this year, you don't have to beat Penn State to have a great season. You don't have to do that. You don't have to beat Pitt to have a great season, although that's kind of, yeah. I mean, you want to beat Pitt. I want to beat Pitt. Okay, but Pitt's not the team that Penn State is. But you can have a great season and learn and start developing this culture that these young guys are all talking about. I really foresee the problem is that the older guys, the ones that have left in the transfer portal, that's what's really hurt this team, is that the older guys and the guys that come in are, I don't know, do they know blue collar? Do they know it's not their fault. But what I'm saying is, do they know the West Virginia blue collar attitude to be successful? We have to be having a hard edge. We have to be able to run in the box, even when the numbers either are even with us or they outnumber us. You still have to run at times. Okay, just because you can't always throw the ball outside or deep when the numbers in the box are heavy. You can't always do it. You have to sometimes force your will. And you have to do it on offense. So that means you have to practice that so that your defense can force their will. Sometimes you have to stop an offense that outnumbers you when you're later in the box. Sometimes you have to learn how to do that and overcome it. That's what I'm talking about, becoming a hard edge and doing it right. That's really what it's all about. How hard, how tough can you be mentally? How many dogs do you need in the locker room at West Virginia for all of them to start barking? How many? That's the question I'm asking. It's like, how many do you need? How many do you need this culture to build? How many do you need this culture to build for that identity? That identity of when back in the day. That, you know what? I think of, you want to know hard edge? I'm going to tell you, I won't even go with my guys, although I could. Hell, I certainly could. But I'm going to tell you this. I'll go to the 2006 Sugar Bowl 5 offensive line. I'll go to the 1996 defensive line. I could tell you, and all in between. There's been so much history of WVU of being hard edge in that box, in that interior, one line to the next. You can go to the offensive line coach Marshall, Billy Lane. He was hard edge, 1980 to 84. Hard edge, beat Penn State, Billy Lane. You can go by Brian Josbeck. You can go down the list of all the Scotty Barrows, all those hard edge. How about defense? How about Chris Parker? You know, Chris Parker, 94. Talk about Greeny Day. Greeny Day. And I alluded to it yesterday as when I came out as a freshman, and I was talking about her coming out there saying, you're not good enough. We're demanding you to be tougher. Coach Neyland demanded that I got tougher because I was lighting the can and I wasn't tough enough and I wasn't mentally prepared. So that's what I need to do. Get mentally prepared, get tough, and go out there and start snoring some snot out my nose and get pissed off and get a little bit of some gook coming out of my neck because I got an attitude. Maybe I got something on my shoulder. Maybe I got just a little bit something. Maybe I got something nasty that I just, you know what, I got a little chip on my shoulder. Whatever you want to call it. But that's the attitude you have to have. And then you got to have a whole team have that attitude. It's a learned behavior in a lot of ways. There's tough guys individually. A learned team can be tough. It's got to be learned because you got to have all the guys. How many dogs does it take in the locker room so that they're all barking, even the cats? Well, my friends, that's it today. I'm sorry. I'll try to bring it in Reno next week. He tried to FaceTime me. Don't ever trust a guy named Reno who's from California. Let's go ahead. Let's get out there and let's see what we have today in, what do we got here? My commercials. The commercials. We're gaining some commercials. We're gaining some people. We got stationers. Obviously, part of our stores is our lead. Stationers coming on. And I've got so much more, man. So much more for this. And here we go. Let's just close it up. You have a great weekend. We're coming back on Monday. We're going to have a big week next week. And don't forget, Aaron Beasley, Jim Carlin, Randy Moss. Vote NationalFootballFoundation.org. Join at $60, yes, but we need the votes. We need to get them into the College Football Hall of Fame. Tuesday, Hillary Jeffries from the National Football Foundation will be with us. She's a Mountaineer. She went to school here, and she's also down there for probably the last, I want to say, 8 to 10 years. So here we go. Let's get it ready. Let's go. The WolfMan's Call.
Hi, I'm Traylon Davis. I'm from Jackson, Ohio, and when I'm back home, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We had that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia. Always in stock.